Hey guys, it's your boy Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen. Today we're doing a wicked twist on a Caribbean dish, more from Trinidad and Tobago. The dish I'm thinking about, the twist we're doing is usually bhaji, which is like dasheen bush or something. But today we're using shredded baby spinach. But this time we're going to enhance the flavor with some nice salted fish, some thyme, some scallion, some garlic. All kind of goodness going in the pot today. You're gonna love this one. If you're a vegetarian and you want to keep the saltfish out of this, you can certainly do that as well. We're using salted cod, by the way. If it's your first time here watching me on YouTube, above you're gonna see that subscribe link. Click it. All the latest videos are gonna be sent to you. Do remember to give the video the thumbs up or like it, and below that's where you're gonna leave me your comments. Hey, say hello. Why not? So here we go. Spinach cooked with shredded salted fish, salted cod. Here we go. Let's quickly run through the ingredients for making this spinach flavored with salted codfish bits. Let's move over here for a second. And in the sink here, I know it says on the package pre-washed, but I still like to wash my stuff. I've got 1 pound of baby spinach leaves here that I've washed and I'm allowing to drain off. We're going to chop that up in a second because it won't be cooked as a typical spinach dish where you're going to sort of quickly cook it. We're going to really cook this. This is it's almost as if you're cooking bhaji, to be honest with you, dasheen bush leaves. But in this case we're using baby spinach. Some vegetable oil. I'm going to need 2 tablespoons of that vegetable oil. The main flavor is going to come from this here, and this is shredded salted cod, and this is how it comes in a package here. Well, the one I got anyways. Chelsea brand, one of the best brands of salted cod. You guys live in Ontario, Toronto, Hamilton, London, Ontario, look in your grocery stores for the Chelsea brand. A wonderful salted cod. I have here a small tomato, some Caribbean sunshine. I'm going to use maybe about half of this Scotch bonnet pepper, 1 small onion. We're going to flavor up that salted cod a bit with 1 sprig of fresh thyme, 1 scallion. I know some of you call that spring onions, some of you call it green onions, 3 cloves of garlic, and what I don't have here is some fresh ground black pepper. I'm going to use maybe about 1/4 teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper in this recipe as well. So here we go, spinach cooked with salted cod. So the very first thing we did here, well I did here, was I chopped up the onion, diced up the tomato, chopped up that scallion, the Scotch bonnet pepper is all chopped up here, the garlic is all chopped up nice and fine, and I stripped the thyme off the stem or the sprig, and I gave it a rough chop as well. So this is all prepped now. So the other thing we got to do now is to chop up the spinach, because like I said, we're really going to cook this down quite a bit. It's not like your typical spinach dish as you would get in North America or Europe or something. So with the spinach, all we're doing, and I have a handful here, a nice tight bundle that I made, I'm just going to put it down on my cutting board here, and you're just going to cut them into really thin strips. Thin, very thin ribbons. Notice how thin they are. Give that a nice chop. Try and drain off as much of that water as you possibly can before you actually shred it. It's pretty much a shred if you notice what I did here. I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest, and we'll get back to actual cooking as soon as we get back here. I have my pan here on a high heat, and I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons of vegetable oil to it. Let's move it around a bit just to make sure the entire bottom of the pan is coated in that lovely vegetable oil. And right away I'm going to toss in the shredded salted fish to here and give it a quick stir. Now what I want to do here is turn the heat down to low, because I want this to cook and release its flavors into the entire dish. So you'll notice it's going to start sticking at the bottom of the pan. That's cool, no worries about that. We're just going to let this cook for about 2 minutes or so, and then we're going to start building on those flavors. Next up, I'm going to hit him with that fresh ground black pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon or so. just to lively up this thing quite a bit here. Again, I'm going to give it a quick stir. It's going to start shredding the salted fish at this point. And in goes the scallion, the garlic, the onion, Scotch bonnet pepper. I just want that to sweat down now and release even more flavor into this dish. That's what I want you guys to remember as well. You notice I didn't say anything about salt. Even though I prepared this saltfish, I boiled it and stuff like that before cooking it here, it will still have quite a fair amount of salt in it. So the dish technically won't require any salt, but near the end you can certainly check, taste for salt and add accordingly if you so desire, I guess. The kitchen is smelling good. So all we're doing now, guys, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes since I added, and remember my heat was still on low, since I added the scallion, the onion, the thyme. The freshness from that thyme and scallion it's an amazing scent in the kitchen right now. So it's been about 3-4 minutes. It's nice and soft. It's not burnt or anything like that. So what we're going to start doing now is adding all that shredded spinach to the pot. Now it may seem like a lot at this point, but give it a few minutes, keep adding more, and it's going to start wilting away. It's going to go all the way down and everything's going to fit in this pot. Trust me on this. As it starts to wilt down, all I did was I started picking up some of that goodness from the bottom of the pan. You really want to stir this around and keep adding more and more spinach into the pot until it's all in there. Once we're done adding all to it and it wilts down a bit, we're going to put that lid on there. And if you notice something on the bottom of the pan here, you notice there's some sort of like buildup on the bottom there. I believe that's called fond. That's where most of that flavor is. So once we put the lid on there and this spinach is going to spring its own juices, it's going to allow us to sort of deglaze the pan and pick up all those wonderful flavors on the bottom there. So I'm just going to continue stirring, adding more spinach, and I'll show you guys once we start to sort of steam cook this. So it's been about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes since I started to add the spinach to the pot. And I'm just going to give it a quick stir here. You'll notice it's going to start releasing a lot of its own juices. And that's cool. That's exactly what we're looking for. Because remember I said that we're going to deglaze the pan? Look at that. The bottom of the pan. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure how the lighting is, but the bottom of the pan is nice and clean now. Those bits of salted fish, the garlic, onion, everything is, hey, all of them is like a little fat inside it. Everybody is jamming. I'm just going to put the lid on this now, medium heat, and let it cook for at least 20 minutes. Now remember, this dish, I don't promise you it's going to be pretty. It's going to be like a big old green mush, but hey, trust me, roti, rice, even bread, this thing will taste good. It's been about 5 minutes now since I put the lid on here, but I just wanted to give you guys a peek at it. It is going to wilt down quite drastically. We want this to keep cooking down. Stir it every 3, maybe every 4 minutes or so, just to move things around in the pot here. Put the lid back on. Remember we said we're going to cook it for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to take a look at it again. It's going to spring a lot of water, and I have it on low heat, just a reminder. It's been about 20 minutes. I've been stirring it occasionally there. I'm just going to give it a quick stir. This is fully cooked. Now you can cook this down more if you want it more mushy, like traditional bhaji, but this is exactly where I want it to be right now. But there is still a little bit of liquid on the bottom of the pot, as you can see. So what I'm going to do, the final step now, the tomato, those diced tomato, it's going to brighten this up. Now remember to check for salt. And the other thing is, guys, if you're doing this vegetarian, which means you won't be using the salted fish, you may need about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a quick stir. I want that tomato to add some of that sort of tartness to it. And I want it to absorb some of that saltfish flavor that we added in here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn up my heat because I want to burn off all that liquid. The lid is not going back on there. It's probably going to take about 2 or 3 minutes to burn off all that liquid. It took about 3.5 to 4 minutes with my lid off. heat at medium-high to burn off all that liquid. It's all done now. I'm just going to turn that off. I'm going to dish it out and show you guys exactly how it's supposed to be at the end. Now, here's the thing. I told you guys about roti. I told you guys about rice, about bread. My favorite way to have this, cassava dumplings. Oh my, my, my. A mixture of grated cassava, some flour, some water, salt. You make it into flour dumplings. Boil it. Good to go with this. This is the spinach cooked with salted fish and seasoned up with, hey, remember I told you? It's all kind of thyme and garlic and onion and scotch bonnet pepper. It's a lovely dish. Remember, you can do this vegetarian, as I mentioned before. Skip the salted fish altogether. The also thing I wanted to remind you guys, remember in the description of this video, I'll show you guys, there's a link in there for another video showing you how to prepare the salted fish for this dish. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Thanks again for joining me in the kitchen. I so appreciate it when you guys are here. Remember to click on subscribe above, and below is where you're going to say hello.